Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Ormark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And I promised a week ago that I would show you what to do with these little tiny flowers. They are from the Special Day dies, which is a coordinating die with the Someone Special, and with the lovely little critters and things in, and these are the little dies from there. So we've done one using the hearts, we've done one using the critters, and there's a word bubble in there, there's balloons, there's grass, and this little flower cuts out 4 tiny little ones, and this is what they look like. So great way of using all your tiny little scraps that you have over, because you don't need very much. As you can see, it's quite a small die and you get 4 out of each one. So just collect a few and do them in a variety of colours. I've done some with some glimmer paper as well, because I had a little tiny scrap of that over, so I've got a few of those, all sorts of different colours, and we're going to do something a little bit different with it. So with the stitched shapes, you want the largest circle, and then you're just going to cut out a die with double-sided sticky sheet. And we used to sell the double-sided sticky sheet, we don't anymore, so you just need to take double-sided sticky sheet and take one side off. If you don't have it, you can do it with glue. You can do it with, if you cover the whole thing with Snell. It's just easier to do it with the sticky sheets. Then all you are going to do is you are going to take your little shapes and you're just going to cover, making sure that you're going just off the side, and it really doesn't matter in which way you're putting them. Literally just take them as you find them. So I'm just taking the little pieces, and the easiest way I've found is if you sort of work your way across. So let's just work our way across with this. Once you've got a little piece, you've then got something to hold on to, because you will find that sticky sheets, by the nature of them, are incredibly sticky. So I'm just trying to put them as close together as I can without them being sort of too overlapping each other, is what I'm trying to say. And then I'm just going to stick a silvery one sort of in between, and literally I'm just working my way across. If there are little spaces, doesn't matter hugely, because we will be finding a way of making them so they don't show. So literally just work your way across and then fill in all of these little spaces as you go. And there's no real sort of rhyme and reason to this. Just do them. In fact, the more random you put them down, the better it is, because what happens is that then they look better, if that makes sense. Let's put that one right down on that edge. So it takes a little while, but you're literally just putting them down all the way across, filling in little spaces as you go, and working down. You will need quite a few. How many? Just do yourselves. What I tend to do is, particularly with little tiny scraps like this, I would just cut out as I go, because then you're not working on a whole pile at the same time. And if you do them as you go, what you find is that you quite quickly build up a little stash, and then you can use them whenever you want for different projects like this. You don't have to use the flowers, you can use anything else you want, as long as it's fairly small. You don't want anything that's too large, because it won't really work with this. Oh, I've got two pinks together. Comes from chatting away, doesn't it? But you can see it really doesn't matter how you're putting these down. Just sort of fill in the tiny little spaces. And the good thing is that because we're using sticky sheet, they will stick and stay in place quite easily. And as I say, make sure that you're going over the edges as you go. So I'm just turning this round. And I've got a complete sort of mixture of colours in here, so I'm trying to sort of work them as I go round. And I've obviously put them down in the same colours, so I'm trying to sort of mix and match them. And sometimes you'll find you'll have more of one colour than another, depending what sort of size scrap you had at the end. But it's quite a fun little process to just sort of take them round and put them into all of these little spaces. That's another little purple one. And if some of them do slightly overlap, it's not the end of the world, particularly if your sticky sheet is very sticky. If your sticky sheet's not that sticky, then, you know, they're not going to stick. This one is exceptionally sticky. I've had it for a very, very long time. I don't use it very often. I probably got it from a craft fair or something, but you can get double-sided sticky sheet. Most of the craft stores will sell some type of double-sided sticky sheet. Or we could put another little twinkly one in, couldn't we? And maybe one down on there. You can put as many or as few of the bright ones. Use metallic foil, use any colours of glimmer paper that you might have. It's all about just sort of building up and filling in all of these little spaces, and making sure that we do have some that are going off the edges. So we're almost done. And where you see that there's a tiny little sort of space in between, just sort of fill those in with the little ones. Just down over on the sides. So you can see how this is, it does take a little while, but it is really worth it in the end. So just make sure that where you've got little gaps, there's a little gap there, you see. So I need to fill that in with one. I might choose a larger one. No, I want a little one, don't I? Because then it'll show more. So let's pick that up, put that down in there. There's some little spaces in on there, so let's have a little pinky one. In on there, and little one in off the edge there. The edge parts are probably the ones that you want to try and get as many as you can, because then it makes the circle, the sphere, look as it should do when we get to the next part. So and say some of mine will come over the top of each other. I'm just filling in little spaces as I see them. I think that's probably, there's a little tiny one over here, isn't there? Let's just add another one in on here like that. Okay, right, so we now have our circle sort of filled in, and then you can do one of two things. You can take the die back over the top and run it through the your die cutter, or you can just take, and I would normally probably do that, or you can just take your paper snips and just go round the edge and just trim off all those little pieces, because we don't want those pieces now, which will give us that complete circle. And you can see it's very sticky on the other side, but there is a way of making it not sticky and just finishing it off with a slightly sort of almost like a glass look to it. And I have finished 2 of them in 2 very different ways, which I will show you at the end. So stay tuned to the end of the video, because it will show you 2 very different ideas with this technique. Okay, so we've now got these pieces in like that. Let's just put that down in the bin. And then because it's still very tacky and sticky, what I'm going to do is just take a scrap like this, and I've got some clear embossing powder. So very simply, we're going to pour the clear embossing powder right the way over the top of everything. It will stick and emboss to the sticky sheet, and will obviously make it non-sticky, but it won't to the little flowers that we've stuck on it. So just take that like that. I'm going to put this back in here so we don't waste it. The nice thing with embossing powder is that it lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts, because every time you use it, you only really need to use a tiny amount. Now, you can build this up with as many layers as you want. So if you want to do the embossing powder several times, you can do. I'm just showing you this as the idea. So the more times you do this process, the thicker the embossing powder will be, and the more of a sort of a cracked glass look, or a glass look, you'll get. So I'm just heating up my heat tool. So I shall talk very loudly over the top of it, but it really does only take a second or so. So once the heat tool is heated up, you just literally put it on over the top, and you're just going to work your way through. You'll see it starting to change. And as I say, just heat it right the way through. And where the stickiness is, the embossing powder's adhered to it. One little piece that's shrunk. Okay. So you can see on here I've got one little piece that's actually shrunk, but that won't matter too much, because when it comes off it'll be fine. Okay, so now we've got that. Obviously there's no sticky on it at all. So what we then need to do is we need to cut ourselves a base which is 3 1/4 inches square, because this will then fit perfectly on top of there. And all we need to do now is to peel the backing off the sticky sheet like that, and then you can decide which way round you're going to put your piece, and just sort of make it as centrally as you can. There we are. And then you've got that on there. Then it comes to decorating it and embellishing it, and it really is up to you how you do it. I will show you 2 different cards that I've finished so you can see the finished product, and I haven't actually stuck those down so we can go through the base layers. So this is one that I've finished, and what I've done is I've put little pearls of different sizes in the center of each one, And the ones that were on the glimmer paper, I've just put rhinestones in. So you can see it makes an absolutely beautiful centre focal point, and you can embellish it up as much as you want in whatever colours. For the backing, I then took some of these colours. So it then was really not using scraps, it was then using other pieces. So we have this one, which is 3 1/4. I go up in 1/4 of an inch increments. So 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 3 3/4, 4, 4 1/4, 4 1/2. And I've done an alternate in white. So we've got the 3 1/4 white at the base. Then I've got a coloured cardstock, white cardstock, coloured cardstock, white cardstock, coloured cardstock, and then my card base. So this makes it a beautiful sort of square card. And as I say, I think you'll agree that it looks absolutely beautiful like that. I then thought while I was doing it, what about with Easter coming up? Why don't we do one which is a bit like the those really beautiful Fabergé eggs? And I thought, I'm sure you could do one like that. So I took one of the ovals and I just put a tiny strip down the centre to start off with. Use the base from the snow globe one for Christmas, which will be continued into next year. But not back until winter. So if you haven't got it, use just something to do as a base. And then I just put different coloured rhinestones on top, on the jewels, and put pearls across the centre. And I put pearls as the centre for the glimmer paper. And I thought that made a really rather beautiful one as well. I haven't put sentiments on them. It's entirely down to you. If I was to choose a favourite, this is mine because I love the pearl look, but both work perfectly, and a great way of using the tiny scraps. You can then make it into as intricate and flamboyant card as you want. So thank you so much for watching me. Do look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.